For the first time since 2017, the NC State Wolfpack have won a bowl game. A 31-7 rout over the Memphis Tigers, a season which suddenly somehow became one to remember.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. Our Friday post-game show is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action for the remainder of the NFL season, head on over to FanDuel.com and place all of your NFL live bets all the way up until playoffs begin in a little over a month's time. FanDuel, play your game. Happy Friday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. I guess this is now officially Victory Friday. The NC State Wolfpack are victorious in the Gasparilla Bowl, a 31-7 victory over the Memphis Tigers, in a game that quickly became one that was never in doubt. The NC State Wolfpack put their foot down early in that first quarter. Like we talked about, a lot of times you can pretty much tell how CJ's feeling, how the rest of the team is feeling based on how they come out the gates and play in that first quarter. Immediately put up 14 points, dominant. Now we'll talk about the second half, probably in the second half of this show, but the first half was everything you wanted and more. Offensive aggression. You had a little Will Wilson sprinkled in there. CJ was stretching the field. The wide receivers were doing their thing. An amazing display of kind of and everything we wanted to see type of performance from this offense kind of just crunched in to one half of football. But first bowl win since 2017. Like I said, the grand scheme of things, are we throwing a parade for this? No, but it feels good to close this season in this fashion. We'll talk more about the grand scheme ramifications here in just a minute. But 8-5 to close the year. Kenton, what'd you see down there in Tampa?
I mean, we got to give the defense a shout out. This defense
absolutely
has been nothing short. I don't know what got into this defense, but here's an interesting fact, Grayson. In the last 3 games combined now, this isn't me making this, combined, they allowed 37 points in the last 3 games combined.
Not bad.
We allowed over 37 points at least, 4 times this year, 3 times this year? This is the type of stuff. In the last 3 games, you're barely averaging, allowing teams to score in double digits. That's unheard of, man. That's really unheard of. And you could say, well, it's against a Dirty Foot Club that's terrible. It's against a Florida State team that's no good. It's against a G5 team without a head coach. But here's the reality. You can only play who's in front of you. You can only play who's in front of you, okay? Texas A&M doesn't have a single win against any SEC team with a winning conference record. Not one. And yet, going into the last week of the season, they were number 1 or 2 in the nation? You can only play who's in front of you. And sometimes you get the luck of the draw. It works out like that you get a bunch of scrubs coming down the pipe at some point in time. And this was it. This was it. So ultimately, to watch this season be finished how it was, right? I said before the season, this is going to be a 5 or less win team or an 8 or more win team. You will not see 6 or 7 out of this team. And lo and behold, even without Hollywood Smothers, we get a dominant win here. I mean, that's absolutely insane. And by the way, people are talking about how long it was since NC State won a bowl game. Grayson, what was the last bowl we won?
It was the Sun Bowl out in El Paso, Texas. Shout out to Gary Hahn. Actually, maybe I shouldn't say that, but 2017. 2017.
That was the last bowl we won. Last time I checked, Grayson, you and I were still walking the halls of NC State at that time.
Still on campus at NC State, yes.
Yeah, so it's been a while. It's been forever and a day. But again, I must give this defense credit because to show up and show out like this, Grayson, who else this season have we allowed single digits against? Who? We played Campbell. They scored 10. We played ECU. They scored 17. There's nobody. There's nobody. Even the bottom feeders in the conference, we allowed more points than we did in this one. So ultimately, you have to give respect to how this defense finished out the year. I mean, spectacular fashion. The offense has been who they are for the most part all year long, all along. But the defense, they've come on strong down the stretch.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think you can give enough credit to Caden Fordham. Just another spectacular game. I hate that he didn't complete that house call. He came within like 2 or 3 yards of that pick six. He just, he repeatedly found himself in the right position, especially in the back half of this season. Always plugging the hole on runs, always finding himself in passing lanes, always making the play to get us off the field. What a turnaround, because like we said, he struggled a little bit in the beginning of the season, and that's not exactly not to be expected because the guy's coming off of ACL surgery. To come back and start playing this season in the beginning of the year, only like 10 months removed from that surgery, is crazy enough in itself. But the way he closed this season, he was the leading tackler in the P4. I think he had another, 13 tackles today, another interception, another sack. I mean, he has really lifted this defense up from the doldrums that they did find themselves in around the midpoint of the year. He's been a leader. And that's what wearing that number 1 jersey means. It means being a leader, leading by example, picking everyone else up by their bootstraps in addition to yours and saying, here we go, get behind me. I'm taking this thing over now. Incredible performance, not just today, but again, that back half of the season for Caden Fordham. Devon Marshall continues to make himself more and more and more NFL money. The man's a fighter jet, and I don't know where this was in the beginning of the season, but he has certainly found something here in the back half, much like Fordham did. You can't complete a pass on the guy. And on the broadcast, they're talking about the way that he shut down Deuce Robinson for FSU. Didn't look like he had any difference in his performance today against Memphis. So shout out to Devon Marshall as well. Kenny Soares is another player on defense I want to highlight. He's really opened my eyes, again, the back half of the season. I think you can say that pretty much across the board from everyone on defense. But Kenny Soares had a couple big hits, a couple open field tackles that may or may not had some things to do with some momentum shifts in this game. He was spectacular again. Yeah, you cannot give enough credit, enough love to this defense, the way they've really turned things around. And they've helped us win 4 out of our last 5.
Absolutely. Ultimately, we don't win a lot of these games without the defense showing up in a meaningful way. We just don't. And what you see in this one, it's ultimately like, hey, we didn't have any production. It was a ugly game in the second half, right? Congratulations.
That's one way to put it.
If you are listening to the sound of my voice right now, you scored as many points as Memphis and NC State did in a total of the final 2 quarters of this game. However, the way that the offense came out of the gates streaking, and what was said to be Dave's Achilles heel, going into halftime, can't get it done. He just can't do it. Well, we got my boy on the double move, a young man that has – you talk about resilience. Think about the resilience it took for Teddy Hoffman, who at multiple points this season was the donkey of the day for multiple games because of the special teams play and all the muff punts.
Yep.
And that's why even when I criticized that young man, I said, I hate him as a punt returner. It is not where we need him right now. But in the slot, out wide, he can do special things. This is why you don't give up on these guys. That even when they're out of position and they're hurting the team, there's a place that you could plug them into that they'll do their thing. And Teddy Hoffman out wide, he does his thing. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And to see him bounce back and not be that way that this is a freshman, a true freshman. And he didn't sit there and say, oh, man, woe is me. I got my punt returner job taken. I'm hurting the team, and I don't even want to do this anymore. He just kept working, stayed at it, kept coming. Now, all of a sudden, we're in this game, and he gets what is essentially the dagger. Memphis scores their first points of the game. It's about 5 minutes left before halftime, and folks are starting to get a little nervous. Like, oh, man, we've seen this thing play out plenty of times as NC State fans, as Wolfpack Nation. We've seen it play out. Dave gets a lead, and then all of a sudden, that foot don't just come off the gas. It might darn near be gently tapping the brakes. And then you see that double move to Teddy Hoffman wide open. And this team, to me, what he exhibited, what Caden Fordham exhibited, that is what this team was about, which is resilience, which is everything ain't going to go your way. It ain't going to be perfect all the time, but you keep fighting for it. You keep fighting for it, and you put yourself in the right position. And at some point in time, if you just put yourself in a position to get there, the things will break your way, which they did at many points today.
And last thing on resilience before we talk a bit more of it after this quick ad break, there's a comment here from Scott that I put on the screen. It says, love that so many players did not opt out of this game. And that is something I wanted to talk about because there were some rumors beforehand that we might have several key players not playing, but the only one that didn't play was Hollywood Smothers, and that's to be expected as he announced his transfer portal entry yesterday. But Justin Jolie was one of the main ones that, you saw him play today. It's like, man, what does he gain from playing in this game? Virtually nothing. So what does that mean? It must mean a lot to him to get to strap him up one last time, play for NC State, play for his teammates, and do whatever he can to help us win. It meant something to him. Same thing for Brandon Cleveland. I know there were some rumors about him not playing. Those really didn't make sense to me because this game is in his hometown and it's his last college game ever. Why would you not want to play in that game? And he played. I think he had a sack, or maybe it was a TFL in this game. He showed out. The resilience of not just, the umbrella concept of winning games at the end of the season, but nobody quit at the end of the season. Nobody, threw their arms up, 8 wins, Gasparilla Bowl. I don't care about that. I'm hitting the portal. I'm up out of here. No, the only one was Hollywood Smothers. He has his own reasons for that, and that's fine with us, especially because Duke's got hooped today. The players showed up, and they finished how they wanted to finish, and that's with the win in the Gasparilla Bowl. There's something to be said for that. And again, we'll touch more on that after a quick word from our sponsors, but just wanted to highlight that real quick. Chew on that for just a second before we dive in a little bit deeper. Again, this does come after a quick ad read from our sponsors. Our first Friday sponsor is Wayfair. The holidays are nearly here, but there's still time. You can show up faster than you might expect, and you can still put together the perfect holiday gift, last-minute decor, or sometimes getting your home ready for guests. Christmas parties are still around this time of year. Wayfair will have you covered. Whether you need a quick room refresh, new bedding, or those final seasonal touches, Wayfair makes it easy to get what you need fast. Wayfair is truly your one-stop shop for everything home. Decor, furniture, kitchen essentials, and gifts for every style and every budget, all delivered quickly and easily. The selection is huge. There's bedding, decor, kitchen gear, kids' room updates. You'll be shocked how much you can find in just one website. It's so easy to shop by style as well. You can pick pieces that will actually fit your home instead of just flat out guessing. There's no massive delivery fees, no stress. It's the best way to get your home holiday ready without running around to find things you need in different stores at the very last minute. Get your last-minute hosting essentials, gifts for your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for way less. Head on over to Wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's Wayfair, Wayfair, Wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style for every home. Middle portion of our Friday post-game show, a 31-7 victory in the Gasparilla Bowl over the Memphis Tigers. Let's get into some of the numbers here. CJ Bailey had himself a pretty solid day, all things considered. He was 14 of 25 through the air, 221, 2 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, completion percentage of 56%. I mean, that is what it is, especially in the second half, the way that went. Duke Scott carried the load and then some for NC State in this bowl game. 19 carries for 108. He had a long rush of 35, averaged 5.7 yards per rush in this game. This is what we were talking about yesterday with Hollywood Smothers moving on. Didn't really feel like you'd see much drop-off in production in this game. Duke Scott, he held that standard up to there. Will Wilson did get himself in the end zone finally, but 4 rushes for just 1 yard. Memphis, as odd as that is, was the only team to successfully stop him, I believe, not once, but twice in short yardage situations, but however, did get in the end zone. The wide receiving group, I thought today, was spectacular. We saw the picture and the video and the clips of Noah Rogers jumping out the stadium to hurdle a guy to pick up the first down and keep things rolling. He had 2 catches for 37 yards. Wesley Grimes got absolutely smoked at the goal line and still had the wherewithal to reach across the pylon for 6, 3 catches for 48 and that touchdown. Teddy Hoffman, like Kenton mentioned, he did have that pump and go for 40 yards and a touchdown. Look at this, though. You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different pass catchers today and only 14 completions. Talk about the spreading of the love, Kenton. All the pass catchers did a fantastic job today.
Absolutely. And this is what we talked about coming into the season. You have to pick your poison. And some guys that we weren't even expecting to be major contributors this year had done so at a high clip. But we know what Jolie brings. We knew that coming in. We know what Grimes brings. We knew that coming in. We knew what Rodgers brings. We knew that coming in. And yet you get all of those guys contributing. And then you get some of the other guys stepping up and being big-time parts of the offense. Teddy Hoffman, who for most of the season was a guy that, showed us something and did good things. And then we talk a lot about the tight end room. Mr. Preston Douglas, how do you do? Thank you for showing up, brother, in these last couple games. And so we've got so many weapons all over the place. And you know what's crazy, Grayson? You know what's really crazy? If you look at those numbers closely, it doesn't tell the full story because it also doesn't tell the fact that Cody Hardy should have had about another 15 or 20 yards or so.
Elite, yeah.
If it wasn't for him and the wide receiver both being on the line of scrimmage. Like, that is the type of stuff. There was no, hey, this is CJ's guy. I'm going to stare you down and we're going to make this happen. It instead was, I'm going to hit the man who's open. This was truly a moment where you ask your quarterback, who's your favorite receiver? And he says the one that's open. CJ Bailey personified that today because he didn't lock in and say, oh, great, Noah's rolling. He's hot today. Let me just force feed him the ball. Oh, great, Keenan Jackson's getting open. Let's force feed him the ball. Oh, great, Teddy's routes are looking amazing. We're going to make it happen with him regardless. It was whoever is open will get the ball.
Yeah, a team effort. And something about that team effort today also included Dave Doeren. And we know the constant complaint about the conservative nature. That first half was about as aggressive as you really ever see Dave. Going for it on fourth down, short yardage, long yardage, did not matter. He was going to pick up the yards and try and put points on the scoreboard. And especially like Kenton had already laid out there, right there before halftime, when Memphis had scored their touchdown and they were going to receive the second half kickoff, it's like, okay, well, if we don't score here, and then let's say Memphis might even score here again before half, then they get the ball back. This feels all too familiar to some disasters in years past. Well, CJ and Teddy Hoffman had a very quick answer for that. And in fact, Duke Scott had a 35-yard run right before that to then set up the 40-yard bomb on that next play. To go essentially the length of the field there in 2 minutes, maybe under 2 minutes, we knew the entirety of the season they have the ability to score at will. And so I think a lot of times when you see us get frustrated about, losing to Virginia Tech or not scoring at all in the second half of this Gasparilla Bowl, it's like, well, we know it's not for lack of talent. So then what is it? Why do we find ourselves stuck in the mud so often? Listen, I'm not going to harp too much on this. It's a good win. It's a bowl game. Second half, it is what it is. Now, clearly, there was a removal of the foot from the gas from Kurt Roper and the rest of the offense, which, listen, again, it is what it is. You win by 24 points. I'm not going to cry about it. But that constant complaint about how aggressive we're playing in the first half, imagine if we just tried to play that way, I don't know, like all the time. You can do it. You can do it. You can be aggressive and, take fate into your own hands. And so I think a lot of the frustration comes from the fact that a lot of times we don't always do that. But again, great performance by the offense, especially in that first half. The defense really stood on their head for both halves of this game, held Memphis to just one touchdown. To be honest with you, I think they could have probably shut them out if not for a couple mental mistakes that we made on our end. But just a great win. Really, you could not ask for a better start. We probably could ask for a better finish. But again, second half having 0 total points, it is what it is. But a 31-7 victory in this Gasparilla Bowl. Now, Kenton, I want to transition this conversation to something we've already talked about. Now that we've actually won the bowl game, do you think this year is a success? You finish 8-5, and like Kenton said before the season began, he sees this team as a 5 or less win or an 8 or more win team. And I want to call back, we were 4-4 after we got the pants beat off us on the road at Pitt. How many of us would have predicted we'd win 4 out of the last 5 to go 8-5 and finish the season? And now perhaps you have a little bit of momentum here before the portal opens 2 weeks from now. this is a pretty good spot for NC State. In fact, you might see some expectations kind of raise, which I know we do that as NC State fans all the time, and doesn't always work out for the best. But here we are again. You win 8 games, you win the bowl game. If you can bring back some key pieces, perhaps you're cooking here. Kenton, give me your thoughts now that we've actually won the bowl game as we head into the offseason.
Yeah, I'm looking for raised expectations from this year. This year was a bit of a wild card year, and that's why the prediction was 5 or less, 8 or more, right? That's why that prediction existed. It wasn't me saying, count me at 8. Count me at 8. I know we're going to win 8 ball games this year. That wasn't the case because there were some limitations and liabilities on this team. That's just what it was. But to see some of our liabilities turn into strengths down the stretch, I know some of those guys are not, going to be back, obviously. Caden Fordham, as much as we love him and as dominant as he was down the stretch, he ain't got no eligibility left. Does Marshall have any eligibility left? I don't believe he has any either.
No, I think he's out. Yeah.
Yeah. So some of our best players defensively, Marshall Island was nice while it was lasted in Raleigh, but it's gone now. You know what I mean? That's what we're looking at. But I will say, based on what we saw from this team going down the stretch, I struggle to look at next year's schedule and say that we should be expecting anything under 9 wins.
I agree.
If CJ comes back, if we get a majority of this receiving core back, and with all due respect, I don't see it getting better for many of our defenders in terms of guys who are returning. I will tell you this, and I've talked to many players, many families of players, many folks who actually have entered the transfer portal because I talk about all the time. I played at Cass Tech, a place that puts out consistently 7-8 guys, Division I a year. I've talked to many, many people and many, many families and many coaches about what the portal actually looks like and who's getting paid what and what that is. And y'all would be shocked by how many players go and end up getting paid less than what they were getting offered by their original school.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of our guys know the grass is the greenest where this is. Now, it's different from player to player. There's always going to be exceptions because I've heard of some 7-figure offers popping out from teams for Hollywood already. I've heard of that being a thing that has come out already. So I'm not going to sit here and say nobody should ever leave NC State because none of you will ever make the money. We saw it last year. Our defensive backfield had a ton of guys that we all knew they're good, but they'll be really good if they stay here. They went and got paid elsewhere. And some of those guys got pay raises. Some of those guys did not. Some of those guys ended up in better positions. They balled out. They did amazing things. Some of those guys did not. And so how does that factor to tie this whole thing into a nice little bow? If some of these players are realizing, hey, we can do something special here in Raleigh, right? If some of these players realize, hey, we can go ahead and get us a 10-win season here in Raleigh, something that's never been done. And with the way the ACC has looked, get ourselves into the playoff potentially. Because next year, if this year's playoff had next year's guarantees in it, Duke would have been in the playoff.
Yep.
So you say to yourself, we can do something really special and be a one-of-one team in Raleigh if we bring the entire band back.
Every so often with the Dave Doeren tenure in NC State football, it's kind of like humps, if you know what I'm saying. Like there's a hump year where you feel everything gear up to take another big swing at it. I'm already starting to get the feeling that might be what you're looking at for 2026. Because what was this year? It was supposed to be, like Kenton said, a wild card year. The expectations or the over-under win total was 6.5. And you achieved that, but that's because Vegas is like, I don't really know what NC State's going to be this year. And so you overachieve those expectations. And when you do that, and then you finish strong in the season, and then you win the bowl game, and then you have more time to prep for the portal, you're picking up what I'm putting, and you have a favorable schedule next year, you're picking up what I'm putting down. So I think the theme for the offseason is the grass is greenest where you water it. Now, coming up next, we're going to talk about the theme of the regular season that we just witnessed, 8-5 to close out let's talk a little bit more about how we feel about that. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Friday sponsor is FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. There's usually one big play, and then suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel that much more exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place live bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum shift, and every highlight moment. Live betting is at its best when the game begins to shift. A wide receiver will get hot, the defense will tighten up, or sometimes a momentum-changing turnover. FanDuel will let you jump in the action at that very moment. They have live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly. There's player prop updates as guys continue to heat up, and you can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It'll keep you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to stay right in the middle of the NFL action for the remainder of the season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all the way through. FanDuel, the game moves fast, but so can you. Last couple minutes of our Friday post-game show, 31-7 in the Gasparilla Bowl over the Memphis Tigers. Now, as I was talking about, you finished this season at 8-5, and I think the theme of this season is very clearly resilience, or they never quit, or hashtag never give up. That's what you saw. To start the season at, 3-0, you beat ECU, you beat UVA, who made it to the ACC title game, still crazy, and then you beat Wake. You had that very frustrating loss at Duke, and that snowballed into another loss at home against Virginia Tech. You were 3-2, and it's like, did we already shoot ourselves in the foot here? What's, where are we going? A lot of people jump off the train at that point. Understandably on some front, but, the Dave Doeren special is either 8 wins or finishing the season on basically as good of a note as you can. We had that again this year. So, like I said, again, 4-4 after getting smacked at Pittsburgh. You beat an undefeated number 8 ranked Georgia Tech. We'll not talk about the Miami game. Then you beat Florida State in a crazy game at nighttime, Carter Finley. We know how those go, especially against Florida State. If I'm Florida State, I never want to play in Raleigh again because it's just been a disaster every time they come up and see us. You stomp the Dirty Foot Club and Bill Belichick, and now you win the bowl game. 4 of your last 5, 8-5. I think I officially call this season a success. Again, The preseason expectations, the Dave Doeren expectations, the rumors that went on all throughout the season, I believe this is now a success. You saw CJ Bailey get better as a quarterback as the season went on. You saw more development from both Hollywood Smothers and Duke Scott, who now we believe will take over the reins as running back 1. Justin Jolie was the best tight end in the conference. We knew that before the season. We still know that after the season. Again, great to see him play today. Great to see him play today as well. The offensive line, I thought this year, was much better than the last couple of years. Our run game was probably the best run game we've had probably since like 2017, 2018. So it's been a minute on there. And then lastly, the way that the defense closed out the season, very encouraging there. So, Kenton, we'll talk big picture here. What are the big picture takeaways you're taking away, that was redundant, from the 2025 NC State football season?
Yeah, I'm taking away that if your wild card year you can get 8, I need to see more out of the season.
Agree.
We talked a lot about, and this is the curse of success, and Dave Doeren probably knows it all too well. When you raise that floor, people are going to expect you to raise the ceiling as well.
Yep.
When you raise that floor, people are going to be expecting you to make an appearance in Charlotte and not for the Duke's Mayo kickoff as well. That's what's going on here. That's what's going on. That's what the expectation should be. That's where Wolfpack Nation should be. I want to see at least 9 or so. I want to see at least 9 next year. And if you get to 9, who knows what can happen? Who knows? Who knows how this thing could shake out? We just saw a 7-win team go. We just saw that. You just saw it. So that's my belief there. Hey, listen, Myers, I would love to drop no expectations, but I'm asked about the takeaway here. So I gotta say the floor is raised, but now we need to raise the ceiling. It's time to raise the roof. It's time to get it done. And I know that feels like it's like, well, damn, we didn't even get 24 hours to enjoy this one. I'm not saying that the team shouldn't enjoy it. I'm not saying Coach Doeren shouldn't enjoy it. I'm not saying that at all. But if we're looking ahead, that's what I want to get done there. And the last thing I will say, the takeaway of the present is just a defense that's been much maligned, a defense that's been run down, and the defense that's earned that. They've earned that malignment. They've earned that running down. Because if you look at what they did down the stretch, the amount of points that they were giving up, they set multiple season lows against against FBS teams. Multiple. Oh, well, Memphis is a group of 5 team. Well, so was ECU, and they put up more points than everybody except the Dirty Foot Club. And if you take away the 6 they scored in garbage time, ECU scored more than all of our last 3 opponents. So ultimately, I look at this and I say, what a job of battening the hatches and saying, you know what, we're going to make it work with what we got on defense. Because we knew the limitations were there, we knew the problems, but obviously Marshall stepping up, huge part of it. But it was just a massive operation that was, a complete 180 defensively from what we had seen earlier in the season.
Yeah, I believe all of us, the fan base, should take a beat to appreciate the season for what it was. That also includes the team and Dave Doeren. They should appreciate this winning of a bowl game. It's been since 2017. And again, regardless on your stance on bowl games, if they matter or not, it's nice to take home some hardware back to Raleigh, North Carolina. So again, appreciate the season for what it is. We'll have much more to talk about. Obviously, the offseason, who's staying, who's going, the portal additions once that opens the next couple weeks. We'll talk more about the 2026 season. Again, expectations, whether you want them or not, I think they're coming. I think, especially when you're looking at a year 14 for a coach with, I'm not going to dump out all the complaints here, but who's not achieved what we want to achieve, the expectations are coming. Whether you want them or not, it's time. It's about that time. So much more to talk about because we are now officially in the NC State football off season, as sad as that is. Another season in the books. That's bittersweet. Actually, now that I sit here and think about it, I hate to see another season come and go. Went by like that because it virtually always does. College basketball, obviously, we have a game in Greensboro on Sunday against the Ole Miss Rebels, a must-win game for Will Wade in the group. But that will do it for us here on Friday, celebrating a 31-7 win in the Gasparilla Bowl. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We will see you all either Sunday or Monday. We'll see about a live show. We'll see. Probably Monday. We'll see you all on Monday. So until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.